When the undead swarm the cities and civilization finally melts into chaos, every survivor starts thinking one thing: location, location, location. Some dream of bunkers. Others swear by mountains or oil rigs. But then there's the bold, possibly unhinged idea. What if we survive inside a nuclear power plant? Sounds insane. Maybe. But in a zombie apocalypse, insanity might just be the last form of intelligence left. Let's find out whether this glowing fortress of modern energy could be your final stand or your final mistake. At first glance, a nuclear power plant looks like the perfect fortress. Thick concrete walls, restricted zones, metal fences topped with barbed wire, and security checkpoints tougher than any prison. Zombies might moan, but they're not great at scaling 20-foot fences or using biometric scanners. The containment dome alone is a modern-day castle, a massive concrete shell designed to withstand earthquakes, explosions, even small aircraft impacts. In other words, if the apocalypse was a test of architecture, you've already aced the exam just by walking inside. But let's not romanticize the idea of home sweet reactor just yet. The first challenge is actually getting in. Most nuclear power plants are guarded by high-level security forces. During the early days of the outbreak, these sites would be locked down tighter than the president's bunker. The government would see the facility not as a refuge, but as a potential disaster waiting to happen. Nuclear fuel rods and zombies are not a great mix. It's the recipe for turning your apocalypse from undead to radioactive. So if you want to live there, you'll probably have to wait until everyone's either fled or, join the brain-eating crowd. Once the gates are open and the armed guards are either gone or zombified, you step into what might be both a dream and a nightmare. Inside, you'll find industrial-scale kitchens, break rooms, offices, and, most importantly, power. Unlike most survivors who fight over candles and batteries, you could literally have the lights on indefinitely if you're smart. The backup generators and control systems are designed to keep running for weeks or months without human input. And if you know even a fraction of how to manage the reactor cooling systems, you could theoretically maintain electricity far longer than anyone else on Earth. Imagine hot showers, microwave food, and a working fridge in the apocalypse. Luxury that would make any wandering scavenger weep. Of course, that's the optimistic scenario, the one where the world didn't already fall apart before the cooling systems failed. Because if nobody's maintaining the reactor's core, the dream turns into a Chernobyl-style nightmare. Nuclear plants rely on constant monitoring and active cooling to prevent meltdown. Once those systems stop, the heat doesn't just go away, it builds relentlessly until something catastrophic happens. You might have barricaded the zombies out, but radiation doesn't care about your plywood fortifications. One wrong valve, one broken pump, and your survival hideout becomes the world's hottest barbecue. Then there's the psychological side. You'd be living inside a place literally powered by death energy. Every hum of the turbine, every hiss of the steam pipes, every flicker of a warning light reminds you that you're sitting on a ticking atomic heart. It's not exactly comforting. Sleep might come, but it won't come easy. You'll start dreaming of glowing zombies outside your window. And worse, wondering if you'd glow too after enough exposure. Even if the containment holds, the idea of being trapped in a concrete maze full of radioactive equipment and empty hallways feels more like a sci-fi horror movie than a safe house. Still, for all its dangers, there's an undeniable appeal. The plant's location is usually isolated, far from cities, surrounded by open land or water. That's a huge tactical advantage. Zombies aren't drawn to places without human scent. So if you keep quiet and manage your waste, you could become almost invisible to the horde. And if you're near the ocean, some nuclear plants even have massive intake channels and outflow tunnels for cooling water, hidden paths for escape or fishing if you're desperate. You could be the only person on Earth catching radioactive tuna and calling it dinner. The high towers and surveillance systems also offer perfect vantage points. You could spot approaching threats miles away. And those same security systems, cameras, motion detectors, reinforced doors, all still usable if you have power. It's like turning a nuclear plant into a high-tech zombie detection fortress. Picture it. motion sensors picking up a slow shuffle on camera 7, alarms ringing, and you sipping a cup of instant coffee while planning how to lure the undead into the turbine room for some creative pest control. But survival isn't just about defense, it's about resources. Food and water become the next big challenge. While the cafeteria might have rations for employees, that supply won't last long. Most nuclear facilities aren't grocery stores. You'll find tools, lab coats, and radiation suits, but not much in the way of canned beans. The nearby environment could be harsh too. Industrial zones, limited farmland, and possibly contaminated soil. So unless you've got a plan to hunt, fish, or make regular supply runs, you'll slowly starve in your radioactive palace. And each trip outside to scavenge becomes a gamble with zombies and the potential fallout. Another underestimated threat? Other survivors. Imagine word getting out that you've got working electricity. Suddenly, your quiet isolation becomes a target. Every desperate group wandering through the wasteland will see your glowing lights at night and think, jackpot. You could find yourself in a siege situation, not against the undead, but against the living, raiders, soldiers, or scientists who believe they deserve that power more than you. And here's the irony. To defend your nuclear fortress, you'd have to avoid damaging it. One stray bullet in the wrong place, and the fight's over for everyone in a 50-mile radius. Then there's radiation, the invisible, unkillable zombie of physics. Even if the plant isn't melting down, areas inside are still hazardous. Some rooms are off-limits without protective suits. Filters degrade. Alarms stop working. If you stay long enough, the invisible enemy starts eating away at your health. Not in a bite, but in silence. Hair loss, fatigue, nausea. The apocalypse's slow-motion sequel, the radiated dead. But let's not give up hope entirely. With proper containment knowledge and equipment, a nuclear plant can indeed become one of the safest refuges on Earth. It's built to resist disasters, has deep underground chambers, and thick shielding that could block both radiation and zombie claws. Some facilities even have self-sustaining energy systems that could keep power running for months without refueling. It's not just a shelter. It's a potential restart point for civilization. If you're lucky enough to find a team of engineers, technicians, or just one clever electrician who binge-watched enough documentaries, you could make it work. Humanity rebuilt from inside a reactor core. Poetic, isn't it? You'd become the keeper of the last light, the literal torchbearer of civilization. While cities burn and the undead roam, you'd be watching the glow of the reactor through glass, humming softly like a god in exile. It's a grim beauty, the idea that the same power once feared for its destructive potential might now be humanity's only chance for survival. Still, it's not for everyone. The claustrophobia, the constant hum, the anxiety of invisible danger, these would eat at you. One wrong wire, one missed gauge reading, one moment of distraction, and your nuclear dream collapses into a radioactive nightmare. And when that happens, it won't just be zombies outside your door. It'll be sirens, alarms, and a sky glowing brighter than any dawn. So, is surviving in a nuclear power plant in a zombie apocalypse good or bad? Well, it's both, magnificently both. It's the definition of high risk, high reward. If you know what you're doing, it's heaven on radioactive Earth. Safe, powered, and untouchable. If you don't, it's hell wrapped in concrete and plutonium. In the end, maybe the question isn't whether the nuclear plant is safe. Maybe it's whether you are ready to live with the knowledge that your survival depends on a glowing monster beneath your feet. If you can sleep to the lullaby of turbines and Geiger counters. If you can laugh while holding a wrench in one hand and a dosimeter in the other. Then, congratulations. You're not just surviving the zombie apocalypse. You're surviving the human one. And somewhere out there, in the endless wasteland, when people see that faint electric glow on the horizon, they'll whisper stories of a fortress that hums in the dark, of survivors who walk in hazmat suits and eat canned beans under neon lights, of the last place on Earth where the night never truly falls. Maybe they'll call it madness. Maybe they'll call it hope. But one thing's certain. In the age of the undead, nothing shines brighter than a nuclear dream that refuses to die.